9, 10, 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You need assistance. That rep is very special. That rep is very different. There is something going on.
Is required to stimulate muscle growth. And if we did in fact stimulate growth on Monday,
in this episode, we're going to look at high intensity training a little more critically. Is high intensity all that it's hyped up to be? We're going to look at some of the top athletes in bodybuilding and how they use this sort of training, for better, for worse. I think it's really important to first highlight this first clip.
All right, here we go. Failure set. Failure set.
Here's Brad Schoenfeld training, doing a lat pull down until quote unquote failure. Or in other words, as Brad says, that's my failure.
Good. Good. All the way to failure. There we go, all the way to failure. That's my failure, man.
Don't get me wrong, guys. I like Brad. I think he adds tons of value to the bodybuilding community. However, I think he had at least 2 more reps in him on this set. I think he could have derived a lot more value from those 2 more reps than mitigating his progress by stopping 2 reps short. Finally, if he's basing all of his research on his definition of failure, that opens up room to question all of his studies. Does he have athlete footage from these studies so we can see how far into the set he went with them? You got to be willing to ask those questions before putting all of your trust into these studies. Honestly, this specific video broke my confidence in his studies. I have to call it the way I see it. Mike Mentzer, Tom Platz, Dorian Yates are legends. By no means am I knocking their techniques, but rather I'm providing some perspective using their examples from my standpoint that may help you with your training. Used effectively, high intensity training can be the most efficient, most effective tool you have to build quality muscle. So here we go. When it comes down to high intensity, what's better, leg press or squats? Dorian was not a big fan of squats. I like the leg press for a couple of reasons. Number 1, it's a safer exercise than squats. Number 2, I'm pretty sure Dorian did leg extensions to pre-exhaust the quads, which really targets the legs when you're doing something like a leg press second. And the third thing, you can go very close to failure safely with a leg press, more so than something like a squat. Notice he's going full range of motion. That's really, really good. His cadence is pretty good. I'm not too keen on the lockout. I'm sure he's got his reasons for this. For me, this is 2 thumbs up. Definitely high intensity at its best. Here we have the legendary Tom Platz pushing a guy, an elite guy, through mayhem, sheer misery. This guy's already done his set. At this point, these are momentum reps. He's going to ask the guy to go till failure and then above and beyond. He's going to assist him with this rep. He's probably going to push the weight down to provide that extra resistance. To me, I think this is overkill. Having said that, look at Platz's legs. Way back then, was he just a genetic freak? Was it his training? He had legs like the current crop of guys. Back in the 70s, nobody had big legs then, comparatively speaking, but Tom Platz did. And I think it was a result of this intensity. In this case, what's the verdict? I'm going to say pass, but use sparingly once in a while. The legend with the massive back, Dorian doing a pull down movement. What I love is, number 1, just that static contraction at the bottom, squeezing the muscle. That's not an overly heavy amount of weight that he's doing, but he's really squeezing, really activating those muscle fibers. And secondly, the eccentric part of the movement is nice and slow, very controlled. Personally, I think his spotter didn't need to intervene so early. I think Dorian could have done a few more reps on his own. 1 or 2 forced reps, great. And I don't know, I think this is a little bit of an overkill. But boy, is the intensity there. I'm going to give it a thumbs up just because of the pure intensity and the great form. Boyer Co. using machines. I'm pretty sure this is pre-steroids, psyching himself up. Sometimes you got to do that for some of these high intensity lifts. Very good form. This is a heavyweight he's using. A lot of composure. That's the beauty of machines. You can focus on actually lifting the weight versus controlling your form. Fully endorse this exercise and his intensity. Nice and controlled on the way down. I think he waits a little too long on that rep, but definitely thumbs up. Tom Platz pumping out some extra reps. I like the form on the way up. I think he's going down a little bit too fast. I think he's bouncing it off his chest. It's a recipe for disaster. I'm not a big fan of this. Forced reps and partials are the norm here for Dorian Yates. I think this is above and beyond failure. Do I recommend this? Once in a while. No more than that. And then you've got him doing tricep extensions. I personally would have gone up a little bit higher. Good squeeze at the bottom. Very well controlled. You've got the spotter there. I'm watching the spotter. He shouldn't be touching that weight. So many times you get a false sense for what you can lift by getting the spotter saying, I didn't help you, when in fact he did. And I think in this case, if we can catch it, yeah, you shouldn't be helping at this point. Get your hands off the machine. Dorian's squeezing pretty hard. He could have done this on his own. Just be careful with the elbows. My take is go a little bit higher reps just to protect your elbows. Overtraining using some of these techniques could be a big mistake leading to injury, stagnation, burnout. My recommendation, proceed with caution. There's no one way to train with high intensity training. How you apply these principles are going to vary from individual to individual with respect to age, ability to tolerate pain, recovery ability. While intensity in your program may be high and volume low, there's no cookie cutter approach to muscle building programs that's clear cut.